The conversation of the day, still journalist hangout. Our number one conversation. Lagdo Dam is a reservoir located in the Northern Province of Cameroon on the Benue River. After several warnings about the annual water release from the dam, several high-risk states in Nigeria have been placed on red alerts. States like Benue, Adamawa, Taraba and Kogi are among the most vulnerable, and they are bracing for floods. So the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency has called for the deployment of adequate measures to reduce possible flood impacts. All right, BK, the release of water from Lagdo Dam is not new to us. Yes. This is not the first time. But the only problem is about how to manage this thing. Now,
how to ensure that it's not, it doesn't get to the 2022 proportions.
Yeah, the 2012 and the 2022. But what sort of preparation or strategy should these high-risk states be putting in place so that it doesn't get to that 2022?
First and foremost, there are no proper remedial measures that you can take at this point.
No matter the...
You can only relocate the people to the upland. When you relocate people upland, the chances of them being submerged by the flood is very low. Now, set up camps for those that you've relocated, take care of their welfare and all that. You also need to put your emergency responders in place. Let them know that there's a job to be done. Sensitize the people around the clock about how they can avoid. People need to know what is coming, and what is coming, you cannot avoid it. The water has to be released as we approach the dry season. Okay. It must be released incrementally. Gradually. You know, release it gradually, because if the dam breaks, each dam has the spillway.
Okay.
If the dam breaks, anything on its part is destroyed, whether they are human beings or animals. It will just be like tsunami. So this kind of dam, as big as it is, occupying a little over 582 square kilometers, should not be allowed to break. It must not. So they are releasing the water. That's the way it is done everywhere. Now, but the people, we have to be ready. States like Bayelsa, states like Kogi, states like Nasarawa, states like Anambra, all of the states where you have River Benue present. Adamawa, for example, River Benue flows through Adamawa and Taraba.
Okay.
They are not immune. They will lose farmlands. They will lose houses. So all of those communities, because it flows primarily into River Benue. Yeah. But you know, River Benue and River Niger are also linked.
Yes.
So that's why you see that last flood, the 2022 flood, Kogi was badly affected because the confluence of both rivers is actually in Kogi. So now, until we build those buffer dams,
okay,
until we build them, and I'm happy that the project to build a buffer dam in Adamawa State.
Okay.
Because in Adamawa State alone, in 2022, more than 3,000 people were affected. It killed 25 persons in Adamawa alone. And the 2022, when you look at the totality of deaths recorded in 2022, due to flooding occasioned largely by the release of water from this dam, 606 persons died. That's a lot.
A whole lot.
That's a lot. Millions of people affected. We can't afford to allow that to happen again. And there's nothing we can do. They will release the water.
Because you can't.
It's inevitable. To not release it is more dangerous. If the dam breaks, it's a big disaster. It will just be like tsunami.
All right, Paul. You talked about 2022.
Yeah.
There was another one in 2012. Now, water has been released since, I think, 17th of September. Okay, they've been releasing it little gradually. What are you observing so far? And also, what are we likely to see in the next coming days?
Well, I think the states are already bracing up. They are saying that already setting up response, disaster response team and all of that. I just hope that what they are saying is true and we can avoid the kind of disaster that happened in Benue recently. We can avoid the one that happened in we're talking about 2022 here. Over 600 people died. Over 1.4 million or so thereabouts were displaced.
14 million.
Farmlands, hectares, thousands of hectares were submerged in the flood. Now, for me,
332,000 farmlands.
For me, I think that Nigerian authorities have been very negligent. They have been pussyfooting over the issue of having a buffer dam. There's a buffer dam project in Adamawa, like you mentioned. I think they call it, that's in Hausa Dam in Adamawa State. I wonder that they have delayed so much in completing that dam. And for me, it shows the value we attach to life and livelihoods in Nigeria. I'm not blaming this government because governments all through have neglected to build a buffer dam around that. I mean, to complete that buffer dam, to receive the water coming from that. Exactly. And it should not only just, it's not just the Lagdo dam. I think it's every dam. We have other dams. We have other dams within Nigeria.
Yes, we have.
There's nothing wrong in building buffer dams around, or close to all of these dams, because there is no way, like Video said, you must release the water when it is time, because if you don't, the cost of not releasing the water is even higher. So, but how do we prevent that from happening? If you are asking people to move to the upland, which is the right thing to do at the moment, what happens to some of their houses? What happens to some of their farms?
Okay, but because are there ways we can take advantage of water that comes from Lagdo Dam? Perhaps maybe for our irrigation.
No.
You see the fury of the water when it's released like that. It causes so much damage. You can't use that water that has been released for irrigation. You want to do irrigation, it's a systematic. When you need the water, you spray it. You have sprinklers here and there. Yeah. The Israelis introduced that technology to the world. And it has boosted agriculture everywhere. You now, sprinkle the water, as far as it can go. But this water that is released is uncontrolled. It just comes. Everything, anything on its path, it occupies. Look at the Onyon Dam that we were talking about yesterday. Look at what it does to people in Akute, people in Isheri, right up to Agility. Is it Agility or what? This area around the Ikorodu area.
Yes.
Agility.
Agility. Yeah.
Look at what it does to people. Lagos State government must relocate people every year once the Onyon Dam is released. So that kind of water is not what you want to put to any use. You would rather, you even wish that water doesn't come.
Okay. All right, then let's move straight